Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Salma Avdic with the American Marketing Association, and I will be your moderator for our webcast, which is in partnership with ReadyTalk. And today we will be discussing how to define the practical side of virtual reality and augmented reality. But before we go ahead and do that, I do want to cover some housekeeping items. So our session is being recorded today and will be made available as an on-demand feature later on this afternoon on ama.org/webcast. We also invite you all to continue this conversation on Twitter, and you can do so by referencing #ReadyTalk. And if you have any technical or content-related questions, please feel free to reach out at any point. You can use the chat area that's located on the left-hand side of your screen. All right, with that, I'm super pleased to welcome and introduce our speaker. So we have Kathy Hackel with us, and she is a partner at Mixed Reality Ventures and also works as lead futurist at You Are Here Immersive Labs. Kathy is also the author of Marketing New Realities, an introduction to VR and AR marketing, branding, and communications. So again, we're very pleased to have her here, and I will turn it over to her now to officially get us started.
Thank you so much, Selma. I really appreciate you guys inviting me to do this webinar. So for those of you guys that might not know me, or I might be new to you, I have been in the virtual reality, augmented reality space for about 3 years, and I really say that I kind of arrived at this industry kind of by accident. So back in 2004, I was working for CNN, and part of my job at CNN was to look at all the footage that was coming in from the war in Iraq. So I had to look at very, very heavy things. And when you have that type of job, you kind of turn your humanity switch off just a little bit to get by. And I don't feel like I was able to turn it fully back on until I had my first virtual reality experience. I went to a conference, like the many conferences we all attend, and I put on a virtual reality headset, and I was transported to a new world. I went into an experience called Confinement by The Guardian. That puts you in a 6x9 solitary confinement cell. So, and that's where prisoners spend about 90% of their time. So within, I would say, like 3 to 4 minutes, I was completely claustrophobic. I took the headset off, and I said, wow, this is the future of storytelling on some level, and I want to be a part of this industry. So I did a very, very, very strategic and very purposeful pivot into the AR, VR world. I came from, obviously, journalism and then a marketing background. So like many of you guys, I was in marketing, and I do work with marketing companies right now. In my current role, I help lead agencies, brands, and companies in integrating VR and AR into their business models in marketing campaigns, or I'm currently doing a lot more work with the enterprise side of training. So it's been an exciting 3 years for me, for sure. And before we get into the definitions and the practical use cases, and kind of why this technology should be on marketers' minds, I want to kind of ground the conversation a little bit. I want to talk to you guys before that about why you should be paying attention. And it's not necessarily because I'm talking about it. It's really because every one of the big tech companies and every single one of the mobile companies are planning for what's ahead after mobile. What is the future of content going to look like? And obviously, how our content is going to change, marketing will change as well. So don't take it from me. Take it from all these men. Wish there were more women in there, but whatever. Take it from all these, top CEOs on what the future might hold for content. So let's go ahead and get into the definitions quickly so we can get into the, important parts of the presentation. For those of you guys that are fairly new to the industry that, might have had maybe an experience here or there, virtual reality is a fully immersive experience where normally you put on a headset, like an Oculus Rift, an Oculus Go, or an HTC Vive, and you enter into an immersive world. And this experience usually separates you from the real world. So you're wearing a headset, you're in this fully immersive experience. You look all around, and it could be a 360 video or it could be a digitally produced environment. So this first picture kind of illustrates kind of what VR is in some ways. Then augmented reality, really what it does is it adds a digital overlay onto your world. So any of you guys that have played around with Snapchat, whether you're a cute little puppy or vomiting rainbows or you're trying on sunglasses, through augmented reality on Facebook, that's augmented reality, which adds this digital overlay or does this digital asset or element into your world. Everyone always goes to the classic example of Pokemon Go, where you would open your phone, open up the app, and point your phone, your camera phone onto the ground, and all of a sudden there's a Pikachu there. You know that Pikachu's not really there, but he's right in front of you. And then we get into mixed reality after that. And while Microsoft has used the term mixed reality for marketing purposes, at the end of the day, mixed reality really means that you're able to engage and interact with these digital elements. So it's kind of a step further from augmented reality. If you can see, the difference here is the robot here is in front of the table. He's kind of blurry. He doesn't know there's a table there. In mixed reality, the robot knows that there's a table, and he's behind it, and he's able to, jump on top of that table. It kind of maps your space, and these digital elements know where things are. We're going to be talking a little bit about Magic Leap, which is kind of a mixed reality headset that just came to market. So let's get into the practical examples, because I think a lot of people always are, thinking about virtual reality and augmented reality, and they think it's something futuristic or it's something that's not happening right now, or that, I think they need to know, like, how is this practical? How is this useful? And I'm going to show you kind of some of the ideas and some of the ways it's being used currently. So one of the ways it is being used for practical purposes is for design capabilities. So what you're seeing right here was actually one of the projects that we did at You Are Here Labs. We did Porsche North America's proof of concept with augmented reality. We were kind of really the ones that introduced them to augmented reality. And what you're seeing here is that you're able, through augmented reality, to custom design your Porsche with the color, the paint you want, with the type of, interior. It kind of allows you to customize things in a way that, you could do on our browser, but it's different where you're actually able to walk around the car, whether it's with an iPad or whether it's wearing a headset, and really customize the car, see it in its true dimensions to the closest possible. So this is very exciting. Architecture firms are starting to use this quite a bit as well to design buildings prior to when they're built, or even furniture companies or design companies when they're designing an apartment. I was trying on an experience the other day where you're able to customize the condo you're buying and choosing different things, just by using augmented reality. So definitely from a design capability, it's a very, very practical use. It's also being used to amplify storytelling. So what I mean by that is that here you have an actual cover from Time magazine from last year, and it's the regular print cover, but if you would take out your phone and you would open their Time app and point it at the cover, you would actually see more of the story of this little boy, through your phone. So you're able to kind of see a lot more about what the story is about. So it amplifies that, storytelling on a 2D surface. And you have the New York Times doing this quite a bit with augmented reality. National Geographic is starting to do this. There's a lot of ways to use these technologies to go further ahead with the story and amplify. It also changes brand engagement. So some of you guys watching the webinar might recognize this wine brand called 19 Crimes. So I really didn't know about this brand until last year when they came out with these augmented reality labels. So basically you would download an app, you would open up your phone, you would buy the wine, obviously, you would open up your phone, you would point your camera at the label, and all of a sudden you would hear the story of these criminals, these 19 criminals that committed something. You would learn more about them, and it was really interesting. They actually had a huge billboard in Times Square. Same thing, you could open up your phone and point it at it, and it would be augmented. So pretty interesting, totally different way to engage with a brand than just seeing the label. It amplifies the storytelling and changes that brand engagement. So I'm sure that some of you guys that are watching this webinar actually have a 19 Crimes wine bottle at home, and it might have been because of this campaign. Recently, another brand came out with augmentation of their labels, celebrating women. I think it was for Women Equality Day, and it's just kind of a different way to engage with a brand. This is one of my favorite examples on how AR and VR are going to be used in practical ways, and that's employee communication. So this is an example from Roomy. Roomy is a software owned by Doghead Simulations, where you're able to put on a headset and you're able to go into these virtual reality meeting spaces. This one's really for business. This one's used for business. So the team at Doghead Simulations that created this, their team is spread all across the globe. So we've got people in the U.S., people in Brazil, people in, I think it's some places in Europe. And they were like, okay, these meetings on Skype or these meetings on Hangouts are not really doing it for us. They brought this into virtual reality. And when you're actually in a headset and you're meeting in virtual reality, as crazy as that seems, you actually do feel that sense of presence. And I think that's a really important word in this conversation. So being able to kind of bring teams that are spread out globally together to meet, whether it is in virtual reality, which is the picture you are seeing here, or eventually through holograms. That's a little bit further down the line. There's only one company I know of that's working on doing holographic meetings for companies, but that is a very practical use. If you can have your CEO hologram in or cross with virtual reality and have engage with different, stakeholders, that's interesting. So definitely meetings is something you're going to be seeing a lot more of, and definitely a very practical use. We have started using it for some of our meetings as well for my team, and it's very highly it's effective. Obviously, there is the issue of the hardware, but some of these are actually you're able to kind of access them through your browser online as well. Okay, so another practical use for these technologies, and this is one of my favorites, is moving away from tell me to show me, which is that product visualization. So instead of having me read let's say a pamphlet or something on the website with the specs for a chair or something telling me the inches, whatever, if I'm actually able to see that chair in my house and in my space, that allows me to have more confidence when I'm going to purchase something. So consumer confidence. And this is an example from Wayfair. So Wayfair has integrated augmented reality into their standalone app. So you're able to pull out your phone, point your camera, and select an item. Let's say you're looking for a table. You're able to select a table and kind of look at how different tables would look in your space. The dimensions are pretty are matched pretty well. So you're actually, since it is an augmented reality application, it is a 3D asset, so you're able to kind of walk around the table and see how it would look in your real space. IKEA is also using this as well. And one of the reasons that they have indicated that they're using it is because a lot of people would make returns because a certain item did not fit where it was supposed to go. So allowing people to have access to these 3D assets, realistic 3D assets, and placing them in their home and seeing if something actually fits in that space is huge, because that would mean less returns for the company. So very practical use. And that gives way to another thing you're going to start seeing a lot more, which is the evolution of e-commerce into what many of us in the industry refer to as v-commerce, so virtual commerce, where you're able to kind of, see items and purchase items prior to being able to buy them. So, for example, here you have an example from Kabak, who has been working with Snapchat, for example, to create these augmented reality menu items. So this burger that you're seeing here is actually not real. It's an augmented reality burger. So you're able to kind of see how big the portions are, what would it look like before you get an item from a restaurant. And I think that type of visual cue is very, very, very stimulating for someone before you purchase something. You're like, how big is the portion? Am I really going to like this? So you get to view things in a totally different way. Zara over here as well is using augmented reality to showcase some of their, some of their designs and everything prior to people buying them, and really amplifying the way people shop. Walmart as well, you guys might have seen this, that they're going to be doing virtual reality shopping. There's a lot of ways that e-commerce is going to change the way we shop. Another practical use is definitely shared social experiences. If you're a marketer, you're obviously interested in what's happening with social media and how to reach all those audiences out there. So what you're starting to see is, for example, with a platform like Snapchat, they partner with Jeff Koons and did this augmented reality exhibit in Central Park where they were able to deploy different pieces of augmented reality art throughout the park. And people would be able to open up their phones in Snapchat and be able to see something that wasn't there. But it was a shared experience because, as you can see, people are there with their phones looking at the same things that only they can see through their phone. So it's that kind of shared social experience. This is very similar to what Pokemon Go did, where you would you would pick up your phone, and if there's a Pikachu there, you would see it, someone else would see it. It's a shared social experience. Niantic, which is the company that brought Pokemon Go to market, is actually going to be launching in another AR game for Harry Potter. So that's going to be really exciting. There's lots of people out there that are big Harry Potter fans, so I'm sure it'll get people out there playing. And really the practical use here is that shared social experience. If you are a brand that is able to create an augmented reality campaign that can be shared, that is extremely powerful because it's not just about sharing online, but people coming together for a shared experience. Another practical use case, this is obviously a really, really important part of the industry, which is the healthcare side of things. So using augmented reality and mixed reality headsets to better dissect or to better understand the human body and see things before they go in. So in this case, they're examining the brain and kind of what they might be doing in a procedure. Virtual reality is also being used for this, for simulating surgery. So a resident's able to practice a surgery 10, 100 times before they actually get to the operating table to do the procedure. On the other side, on the right side, you're going to see what's called AccuVein, which is an augmented reality use of the technology to be able to spot the veins. So some of you guys on the webinar might be like me. I hate getting my blood drawn. I have really bad veins. So this type of technology actually makes it easier for the person that is going to, do the procedure on me to find the correct vein. And obviously it lessens cost, it makes it faster, more accurate, and a better experience for that patient. So very, very practical use. Definitely augmented reality, mixed reality, virtual reality are being used very, very heavily in the medical side. Entertainment, of course, this is a very obvious use case for these types of technologies, whether it's music, or whether it's films, whether it is sports. All these different areas of entertainment are all embracing virtual reality and augmented reality. What you see here is a picture of the Void 4D Ghostbusters hyper reality experience. This one is currently in a few cities, including New York and Madame Tussauds museum. So basically the concept here is that you put on a virtual reality headset and you, alongside one of your friends, go into this virtual reality storytelling world where you're able to fight all these ghosts. And it's really actually interesting because you're wearing a headset the whole time and you're completely immersed. I've done this one, and they have a Star Wars one as well that I did in Orlando, and it's truly impactful. It's truly immersive. It's kind of short, to be honest. When you do them, it's only like 15, 20 minutes, and you kind of want to do it again and do more. But I think that will come. Another example I want to share here with entertainment, there's two examples I want to share. So in the musical setting, Imaging Heap just launched an experience with the Wave VR in virtual reality where people go into experience her music, and there's a hologram of her, but it's a very fluid hologram, and you're kind of able to engage with her music and her artistry in a totally different way than you would in a concert or just listening to it through audio. So very exciting. And then from a sports perspective, there was a lot of things happening during the World Cup where, for example, the use of augmented reality to show different plays. There was even a Belgian company that interviewed a player from the Belgian team live on television while he was in the dressing room in Russia, but not on a flat screen. They actually pulled him in as an actual hologram. And that was really impactful because, you saw the newscasters at the desk, but you would also see the hologram, a really good-looking hologram of the soccer player on set, but from his locker room. Another example of how this is being used in television is the Weather Channel. So if you haven't paid attention to what the Weather Channel is doing with mixed reality, they have been doing some really amazing content and changing things up on how we are able to consume and engage with how the weather affects us. So now I want to talk a little bit about where the money comes from to fund some of these practical use cases. And it's great to have these use cases, but how am I going to pay for this if I'm in marketing? Most of the clients that I've spoken to and what I've seen in the industry is that a lot of the money that is coming for, that is paying for these types of campaigns and types of activations and programs come from certain areas. So if your company has an innovation budget, they probably have some money set aside to explore AR and VR. It's definitely coming from marketing, for activations. The public relations part of the company is also starting to allocate money towards that. Obviously, if you have a social media or a digital team, I see some of the companies also having budget in these categories for AR and VR. And then operations and training. I will be talking about a specific operations and training project that I worked on, but you're seeing more and more companies, whether it's UPS to the medical side, that are allocating budget for AR and VR because it's highly effective for training and for potentially helping with making the operations a lot faster. So now let's get into some of the current AR tools that marketers can use. So I'm going to go through a kind of a laundry list of some of the ways that you guys can get started with augmented reality, from, let's say, the low-hanging fruit to the more difficult ones. So, and I do this because I think it's important to, once again, ground the conversation and say that, yeah, you don't necessarily need to be a developer or a coder to start as a marketer, to start experimenting with these technologies and see how they can be used. So this right here is a screenshot from Snapchat's Lens Studio. It is free. It is free for anyone that has a Snapchat account, and you can download it, and you can start actually without any coding knowledge. You can start creating some of those lenses and some of those interactive objects. For example, I'm not sure if anyone remembers the dancing hot dog, but if you had an asset like that, you could actually put it in here, an animated object, and do it yourself. And like I said, you do not need to know how to code to be able to start experimenting with Lens Studio. Another example is Facebook's AR Studio. Once again, it is a free tool available to anyone that has a Facebook account. I do find that Facebook's AR Studio is a little bit, let's say, a little bit harder to work with than Snapchat Lens Studio. Not too much harder, but a little bit. So that's definitely another tool you can start experimenting with. And there's definitely tutorials on YouTube showing people how to use these technologies. And these two are really, there's no coding necessary. They're free. So if you're kind of interested in starting to experiment, or have your marketing team or your creative start to experiment with things, this is a good place to start without a big investment. Then you get more into some of the other tools where you do need to have a developer that can actually work with these technologies and that can code. This is Google's AR Core, which was launched for iOS to create augmented reality experiences. This is one of the experiences that they had created upon the launch of AR Core. Then you have Apple's AR Kit for iOS. And what I'm showing you guys here is our AR Kit app for Porsche. And we were able to kind of place the Porsche model that we had worked on in the middle of the field at Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So pretty exciting use of the technology there. But both for Google AR Core and Google AR Kit, you do need a developer. And these are mostly for mobile AR experiences on Android or iOS. And, mobile, I mean anything from your mobile phone to your iPad. Then Amazon has something called Amazon Sumerian, which is free as well. And for this one, it's a little bit more complicated, I would say, a step up, but this one allows you to do both AR and VR without necessarily knowing how to code. Very, another way to be able to kind of experience and get used to some of this content. So now let's talk about 3 use cases on how this technology has been used. I had, at the beginning of the talk, I talked to you guys a little bit about the design capabilities for augmented reality, and this is a use case that we worked on at You're Here with Porsche. We created this experience for them because car buyers were spending less and less time at the dealership. So, how could Porsche help these buyers configure cars where they were to help them kind of be more effective? So we saw that through augmented reality, you could make car configuration more exciting. Whether it's prototyping on the HoloLens, which is a mixed reality headset, or whether it's using an iOS, which is a phone, and most people have a phone that can do augmented reality. So this project actually started with the HoloLens, which is like I said, a mixed reality headset done by Microsoft. It costs about $3,000 or $5,000. So it's not a consumer-ready product. It's more of an enterprise product. But we started working with them there, and then right around that time, the iPhone 10 was going to launch, and Apple was also going to launch ARKit. So we saw an opportunity to port what we had done in the HoloLens to iOS, and that's what you see here is a picture of the ARKit app on the phone, which is the one I've been showing you guys throughout the experience. The cool thing is that, through augmented reality, buyers were now able to dream with their existing devices, with their phones and their iPads, creating all these amazing, prototypes of the car. And it's a passion brand. If you're a Porsche fan, it's very much a passion brand. So some of the things that we saw from this experience were that it positioned AR, it was a very innovative positioning for Porsche. It prototyped the exotic, with expensive, what initially started as expensive tech and then became very accessible through mobile. When we launched it, and the information here is a little bit incorrect, but when we launched it, we timed it to be at the same time as the launch of the iPhone 10 and ARKit. So we were able to get over 1 million impressions and more than 30,000 downloads without any marketing support. We even made it into iTunes ARKit apps we love. And if you ever Google Porsche AR app and see some of the coverage from last year, you're probably seeing the design app that we created for augmented reality for Porsche. Another practical use case that I want to share with you guys, and I love speaking a lot about my personal experience because I think that helps, is through UPS. So while this is not a marketing campaign per se, this definitely led to a lot of exposure and a lot of marketing opportunities for UPS. I was able to advise UPS as a virtual reality expert prior to the launch of their VR driver training program. Their concept was to create these driver training modules in virtual reality to help these drivers avoid any type of hazardous situations on the road. So it kind of aligns with the company's culture of safety and keeping people safe. And what they were finding as well is that it was a very effective way also to train the younger employees that were coming into the company because they were used to technology, especially in video games. So in some way, this kind of gamifies that training for them, and it's proven to be very, very positive for the company. And what you can see if you Google UPS VR driver training is that they got a lot of coverage, and it was really a really amazing opportunity for them to position the company as forward-looking, as futuristic, as using cutting-edge technology to keep us safe on the road. Then I want to talk about Build.com, which is an online platform that sells any type, lots of different types of architectural products. So I was on a panel with one of the marketing representatives from Build.com, and I was really impressed with some of the data that he shared. Apparently, they did an initial test of 40 of their products online and on their app. Mostly, the app is the one that has the augmented reality, but 40 of their products that were AR-enabled products. So they were able to kind of create these augmented reality assets for people to try on these different architectural products. And this is what they saw. These numbers are just incredibly interesting to me. 400% increase in in app revenue for products that were AR enabled. That is a huge number. They had a 258% increase in app views for AR enabled products, a 25% increase in sessions for users that access through AR. They access the augmented reality side of things. So what they saw was this really, really, a really amazing increase in how people are buying products and engaging with these products. So they are making a second huge investment in v-commerce going forward. Last time I checked, they were going to add 150 extra AR-enabled products to their catalog on their app. So, I know people always love all kinds of data and statistics. And when they had shared this with me, I thought that was really relevant, and that really shows a part of the power that augmented reality can translate into sales and into actually being useful for a brand. So now we're going to get into really my favorite part of the talk, which is more about the future of what's coming down the line. So everything that I've shared with you so far are things that have already happened or being worked on. So it's not necessarily, the future. It's things that are being worked on right now. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming down the line. So for those of you guys that are in the webinar, I'm not sure if anyone recognizes the woman on the left. But if you do, then you know that she is Little Michaela. So Little Michaela has over 1 million followers on Instagram. She's huge. She's very popular. She has booked campaigns with Montclair, with Kenzo, with a whole bunch of different brands. Louis Vuitton was one of them. And she's not real. Okay, let that sink in. She is not real. She is a CGI influencer that was created by an agency. And she has an amazing personality. She has been embraced very, very fully by the younger millennials and Gen Z, and she's extremely popular. You might have seen there's tons of coverage out there about her if you haven't come across her, but that is Lil Michaela, and she's not real. There's a whole breed of influencers that are CGI influencers or digital, what some of us call in the industry digital humans, that are kind of starting to kind of rise up. On the left here is actually let's say a digital human called Sean. Sean is an actual 3D volumetric scan of a model called Sean, and they scan this person, and then after that, they scan all kinds of movements, etc. And then after that, a company called Quantum Capture out of Canada, out of Toronto specifically, is using Sean to become that virtual concierge for you at a hotel, for example. And Sean is actually AI-driven, so you can ask Sean questions. He will answer back. I was actually able to see a demo of Sean the other day in Toronto, and I could actually, tell him I wanted to see him dance hip-hop, and he would do hip-hop. It's really interesting to see how these technologies are going. You're going to start to see a lot more when it comes to these digital humans and CGI influencers with the rise of people like Lil Michaela, and also with the use of holograms. I'm personally very, very much obsessed with holograms at this moment. I got hologrammed myself a couple of weeks ago, and you'll be seeing more of that later on, I'm sure. But you're going to start to see more holograms. For many of you guys in the U.S. and in Canada, Roy Orbison's hologram is actually going on tour right now across many cities. So people can buy tickets to this concert, which is really Roy Orbison performing his greatest hits in the form of a hologram. So you're going to start to see a lot more of this. Japan is one of the countries that has embraced some of this. There's a little hologram that tours all over Japan, and the younger generation is very receptive to this. So this idea of digital humans, synthetic humans, that is coming is very much here. It's still in its infancy, but it's something that's going to come. In one of the talks I gave in Miami, I was keynoting Miami VR Expo, and I talked about this same thing. I even showed a really cool video. And when I got off the stage, I had a really, really big brand approach me and say, do you think we should be exploring creating our own avatar, our own digital persona online? And I said, that could be a possibility as long as that person is genuine. So check out Little Michaela if you kind of want to get a better feel for how authentic she is as a CGI influencer. And I know that sounds kind of ironic that she's not real because she's authentic. She has a very interesting personality. Then everyone, whenever they talk about futurism and about the future of how we're going to engage with technology. They always refer to Minority Report, right, with Tom Cruise. Well, this picture right here is actually of a picture from Leap Motion, which is a company out of California, and they have a headset, an augmented reality headset. And this is just kind of a picture that they shot through the headset of what the prototype of the desktop of tomorrow could look like. So you're able to kind of engage with this content in your space. So some level of spatial computing where you're able to kind of pull up different things in front of you. Granted, you are wearing a headset, but you're able to manipulate these items and, check your email or send any message or check the weather, whatever it is, but you're actually doing this in your space and not tied to a desk and not, tied to a screen, to a flat screen. And this is one of my favorite examples. There's actually a video that goes along with this, but I was not able to kind of show it to you guys. But this is a picture from the movie Black Panther. And for any of you guys that you watched it, you might recognize it. If you didn't, and I'm not going to spoil anything, this is a picture of Shuri, which is Black Panther's sister. She's a brilliant scientist, And what she's doing here is driving a holographic car. So the interesting part here is that she is in Wakanda, which is supposed to be in Africa, and she jumps into this holographic car and drives this car, which the actual physical car is in South Korea. She drives this holographic car through the streets of South Korea helping Black Panther. What if I told you this has already been done? Not so much as a holographic car, but this year at NVIDIA's Developers Conference, you had someone on stage wearing a virtual reality headset driving a car which is parked somewhere outside, definitely not in the auditorium, but some parking lot outside, and he was able to drive that car in virtual reality from afar. So very powerful, the things that are going to be able to happen and that are coming. And this is another example that I'm really excited about called the Magic Leap 1. So for many of you guys have heard of Magic Leap at this point, I'm sure. And if you haven't, they are a startup out of Florida, one of the highest funded startups in the history of startups, over $2 billion in funding from companies like Alibaba, Google, AT&T. And they just came to market with their Magic Leap 1 Creators headset. And I just think these words, the way they describe their product is really interesting. Create new worlds within our world. This is for trailblazers, for storytellers, for dream chasers. So they're pretty much what they are. They are right now the top of the line mixed reality headset out there in the market where you are able to kind of engage with content in a totally different way in spatial computing. They work with your eyes, so there's multiple focal points. It's pretty advanced technology. The content I've been able to experience on the Magic Leap 1 has been amazing. Everything from seeing LeBron James dunk in front of me through the NBA app to being able to engage with music from Sigur Rós in this musical mixed reality experience, which is fantastic. They also have a Wayfair app where I'm able to place a chair in front of me and, walk around it, but through my headset. So through, a heads-up display and not through a phone, which is a little bit different. But keep your eyes on what they're doing. I see a lot more and more marketing companies starting to be interested in how to use them, how to use their technology. And the important thing here about Magic Leap is that it's not just about the hardware. The way they position themselves is as a spatial computing platform for mixed reality content. So I think that that's really important to keep in mind as marketers. And before we finish, I kind of want to leave you guys with a quote from sci-fi author William Gibson. He said, "The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed." And what you can see on the left are images from the Blade Runner movies, which many of you guys know. And then on the right, this is an actual photo from 2017 from Toronto. So I want to say thank you for, allowing me to share some of my knowledge with you. Feel free to reach out to me on social media, via email, however you want to find me. I'd be happy to talk to anyone. And I know that we're going to have some giveaways as well after the questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Kathy, and thank you for also being so generous. Like you said, we'll get to those giveaways after the questions. But I do want to start us off with some great questions. We have Kayla here, and her question is, what is the easiest way to get started with AR?
I think one of the easiest ways to get started are some of those tools that I mentioned, like Snapchat Lens Studio, Facebook AR Studio. Start playing around with it. If your company has an innovation lab, try to go to that innovation lab and spend time in some headsets. I think it's really important for marketers that are interested in these technologies to engage with the technology. Try to download AR apps on your phone, whether it's there's an app that actually lets you try on rings or jewelry or try on different colors of nail polish, but start seeing, how you can use this technology so that can bring ideas about how you can use them for for marketing your specific product.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for that response. We have had several people ask this question. I'm sure you get it a lot, but it's about the cost. If you can give some insight about how much this would cost.
That's always the question, right? I'm sure everyone on this webinar is thinking like, well, this is great, but how much does it cost? And the honest to God answer here is that it's going to depend. It's going to depend on what you want to do with AR, with the complexities, of what you're trying to do. If what you want to do is a lens on Snapchat, then it's probably not going to be very expensive. But if you want a full-on, augmented reality app where you can sell products, then that's going to probably be more complex. So it's going to range. When I did work with the Cinematic VR Studio, we had come up with a kind of a percentage of how much more it costs for us to create a virtual reality, let's say, a virtual reality episode for a TV show. So it was about 30% more than the regular campaign. Or, it would be more than, if you were paying, a certain amount, it would be 30% more for that virtual reality experience. Granted, that's 360 video, so that's completely different. But yeah, it's really going to depend. There's going to be a lot of factors that come in. It's going to come into, the type of team you hire, the specifics of what you want this to do, and that's where it's really important. How long it takes for them to develop this. So yeah, that's a very tricky question, but I say you can find, there's things that you can do for, $30,000, and there's things that you can do for $150K and up to $150. It really depends on kind of what you're trying to accomplish.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much again. We have a question from Chris, Kathy, and his question is, why should marketers care about this? No pressure.
Yeah, that's a good one. No pressure. Why should anyone care? Give me a why. This is kind of what I say because I speak all around the globe, right, at all types of marketing and technology conferences, and I say this. Look, the reality of things is that content is expanding. We are moving away in some way, shape, or form from the flat rectangles on our walls, which are our TVs, and the flat rectangles that are our phones in our hands. It's not going to happen overnight, and it's not happening next year. But we're moving away from those flat surfaces. So that is 2D flat content. So content that is 2D and flat is expanding. It's expanding to content that is 3D, 360, augmented, and sometimes holographic. And, we're not going to stop using our phones right now. It's going to take a longer time. But, 10 years down the line, you're probably going to be engaging with content on a totally different device in a totally different way. And it makes sense to me. We live in a 3D world. Things have dimensions. The world, the way we engage with content, things are not flat. So why should our marketing be flat? And I think it's this evolution of how we engage with content and how content is created and how we, and it's just expanding. And I think that's really at the heart of what I want marketers to understand, is that there is this expansion and this shift. At the beginning of mobile, a lot of people were like, oh, no, that's never going to happen. And look at us now, right? We're all addicted to our iPhones. So same thing. This is the next transformation. This is the next computing platform. So if you're a marketer, you should be interested. It doesn't necessarily mean that you should be doing everything right now, but you should definitely be paying attention a little bit to what's going on. I'm sure a lot of people here are paying attention to artificial intelligence. You should be paying attention to AR and VR as well, because all these emerging technologies kind of go hand in hand.
Great. Yes, great. Thank you so much for that insight. And I think we have time for just one more question before I turn it over to Kathy again to share. some awesome giveaway news. But the question is coming from Ben, and he's curious about how storytelling will be changed by VR and AR.
And that's such a great question, because at the heart of what we do as marketers is the storytelling side. I think a lot of us got into marketing because we were native storytellers, right? So it is shifting and it is changing. Some people in the the VR AR industry, we have started to use the term story living when it comes to virtual reality specifically, because we're moving away from just telling something around a campfire. We're actually in virtual reality. You're actually able to be part of that story and engage with that story. So it's more like story living in some way when you're actually able. When you're in that headset, you have agency and you're able to look anywhere you want. I mean, the director can kind of try to push you to look a certain way, but you can look anywhere. So it's really you crafting your own narrative in some ways within these experiences. So definitely you might be seeing more of the use of the term story living when it comes to virtual reality. And then augmented reality, I think it changes the way we engage with content. It adds the digital element. When it comes to VR and AR, obviously AR is going to probably be what we're going to use most in our daily lives. And VR is going to probably be more of an entertainment, a training side of things. But it'll definitely change the way we tell stories. And from a branding and marketing perspective, it's going to change the way you tell your company's story. When you are able to hologram, like I said, your CEO into a meeting, that's a totally different experience than a pre-recorded video. So yeah, it's definitely changing storytelling, I think, for the better.
Yes. Wow. Well, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but I do want to let our audience know if we did not have a chance to answer your question, we definitely will find a way to connect with you offline and keep the conversation going about this relevant and exciting topic. But I will give Kathy a minute to let us know about some exciting giveaways before we conclude.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm going to do is actually go look at Twitter after this and see who's been using the hashtag ReadyTalk during the webinar. And then, I'll kind of, through the help of my children, possibly select one or two random winners. One person's going to receive a signed copy of my book, Marketing New Realities, and then another person's going to receive a free VIP ticket to the Mixed Reality Marketing in New York on November 5th. It's the first of its kind. We've got Snapchat, we've got Best Western, Wayfair, Adobe, HP, Facebook, all these companies coming together to share how they're using AR and VR in their marketing and how much these technologies are going to change the marketing career. So, be on the lookout on Twitter.
Wow, thank you so much for your generosity. That sounds so exciting. And again, thank you for your time and your attendance to share your insights. I do want to remind our audience again that you'll be able to view Kathy's presentation later on this afternoon on ama.org/webcast if you want to take additional notes. And we also will be sending a follow-up email with the webcast details. I do want to also thank ReadyTalk for their partnership as well as for providing a platform for today's webcast. If you do want to learn more about their services, feel free to check out readytalk.com/AMA. And of course, thank you so much to our audience for your time, your participation, and I wish everyone a great rest of your day.